Congratulations. Archangel Michael says, you will be very happy tonight because God is giving you that one thing. Open it now. If you ignore this, you'll miss it. My beloved child, listen deeply, for it is in this moment that may appear quiet and still. Congratulations, not just in words, but in the vibration of heaven echoing through the walls of your destiny. Archangel Michael has stepped forward not with a sword today, but with a scroll. A scroll sealed in light, marked with your name, and dripping with joy. Yes, you read it correctly, joy. That one thing your heart has quietly longed for. That one thing you've whispered into the dark with trembling faith. That one thing your spirit has circled around again and again, hoping, waiting, aching. God has heard. Not just your words, but your silence. Not just your tears, but your patience. And tonight, yes, tonight, the divine exchange will begin. The shift you thought would take years will happen in a single sacred breath, because time bends when heaven moves, and tonight, heaven is moving just for you. You've been through the long nights, the unseen prayers, the quiet breakdowns in rooms where no one could hear you. You've survived days that felt hollow, months that felt lost, and moments when even your own reflection didn't recognize the strength it took to stand. But you stood. You stayed. You believed, even when your belief was just a flickering spark. That's why tonight isn't random. It's reversal. Divine reversal. Where loss becomes laughter, and the delay turns into deliverance. Archangel Michael is not here by accident. He was sent as a witness, as a guard, and as a carrier of joy so pure it will feel like a dream. But it won't be. This is real. This is what you were promised in the hidden hours. That one thing, you know exactly what it is. Don't you? It just flashed in your mind as you read these words. That desire that never truly faded, even when everything around you said it would never happen. That vision you tucked into the corner of your heart because reality kept disappointing you. God did not forget. In fact, it was protected all this time. Kept hidden, not as punishment, but as preparation. And now, the seal has been broken. The angels are moving. The environment is aligning. The very thing that once avoided you is now on its way with urgency, because divine timing has been declared. You don't need to chase. You don't need to convince. All you need to do is receive. But Michael whispers, open it now, not later. Not tomorrow. Because moments like these are rare. If you delay, you may miss the spiritual window that is open right now. Not because God will take it back, but because your spirit needs to rise into the space that was built for it. That's why you're being pulled right now. That's why you're feeling this unexplainable stillness. That's why your soul feels like it's standing at the edge of something big. Because it is. The delivery is close. The answer is breathing. The light is cracking through the veil. Tonight, your joy will no longer be a prophecy, it will be your present. It was never just a wish, it was a soul contract written before your birth. That one thing you have cried for, begged for, broken for, it's not just a desire, it is a key to unlock the next chamber of your life. For some, it would be a reunion. For others, it's justice. But for you, it is the restoration of something you thought was gone forever. It may have taken a long road to reach this moment, the road filled with empty promises, delays, false starts, betrayal, disappointment, and doors that slammed shut just when you thought they would open. But hear this now, nothing was denied, it was delayed for the purpose of divine perfection. Because what God is giving you tonight is not just what you asked for. It is better, bigger, and beyond what you had the strength to imagine. Archangel Michael stands with his wings stretched wide, covering every spiritual crack that used to leak your blessings. He says, that one thing will no longer be a secret pain. It will be a revealed joy. And it won't come through the path you expected. It won't arrive with noise. It will come silently, wrapped in alignment. Maybe through a text. Maybe through a knock. Maybe through an opportunity that once slipped through your fingers but now returns clothed in favor. But however it comes, it will feel like home. Like the missing puzzle piece that finally fits. And when you receive it, it won't just change your mood, it will change your momentum. Suddenly, things will begin to flow again. Energy. Ideas. Creativity. Clarity. The fog will lift. The weight will dissolve. Your chest will expand and you will finally exhale the breath you've been holding in for years. Because God is not giving you just the thing. He is giving you the feeling you thought you'd never feel again. That feeling of security. Of being seen. Of being safe. That feeling of joy that doesn't come from pretending, but from pure alignment. And once you feel it, you'll weep, not because you're sad, but because your spirit will finally recognize what it feels like to return. To yourself. To your center. To the version of you that was never bitter, never guarded, never defeated. That version is coming back tonight. And you'll realize, God never forgot. Heaven was always counting down to this hour. So don't question it. Don't overthink it. Don't shrink away. Open your spirit. Because when Michael said, "You'll be happy tonight," he wasn't speaking casually. He meant tonight will shift your soul. The weight you've carried is being exchanged for light. The story you hid is becoming your testimony. And the miracle you thought was buried is blooming. In silence. In grace. In the presence of angels. It arrives so gently, you almost miss it. No thunder. No trumpet. No grand announcement from the skies. Just a shift, like the soft wind that enters a room before the curtains rise. That one thing you've cried for, fasted for, whispered to the stars for, it finally steps into your life, not as a stranger, but as a long-lost friend returning home. You don't even need confirmation. Your spirit knows. It doesn't knock, it aligns. The energy in the room changes. The air feels cleaner. Time slows down. And for the first time in what feels like forever, your breath deepens without force. This is it. This is what your heart has been stretching toward in silence. The delay has expired. The distance has been crossed. Heaven has made its move, and now it's your turn to receive. And you do. Not with noise. Not with fear. But with open hands, trembling slightly, because something this sacred makes even the strongest soul kneel. You are not overwhelmed because it came. You are overwhelmed because of how it came. Not through the channels you expected. Not through people you relied on. It came from God's hands alone. Signed. Sealed. Delivered. And it fits so perfectly into your life that you wonder if maybe, just maybe, all those painful chapters weren't punishment, but preparation. You remember the nights you thought it would never come. You remember the people who said you were asking for too much. You remember the part of you that almost stopped believing. And yet here you are, holding in your hands the very thing that felt impossible just yesterday. Maybe it's a message. Maybe it's a voice. Maybe it's a face you haven't seen in years returning with softness in their eyes. Maybe it's a job, a letter, an offer, a truth finally spoken. Maybe it's clarity in your heart or peace in your mind. Whatever form it takes, one thing is certain, it is real. And it is yours. And as you hold it, something inside you begins to shift permanently. The ache begins to dissolve. The doubt begins to break. The questions grow quiet. Because now you understand. God didn't give it late. He gave it when your soul was finally strong enough to carry it without losing yourself. Archangel Michael is watching quietly from the spirit realm, his wings lowered, his face calm. He doesn't need to speak. His silence says everything. His mission in this moment is complete. The delivery was successful. And now, he steps back into the light, not leaving you, but surrounding you, to protect what has finally entered your atmosphere. Because when heaven gives you that one thing, it doesn't just give it and go. It assigns guardianship. What's been given to you tonight is too holy to be touched by noise, jealousy, or confusion. This is why you had to wait. This is why others got theirs before you. Because this thing was not just a gift, it was a destiny marker. And only now were you ready. And now your room feels different. The air carries something new. The silence feels full. You are not the same. You are not reaching anymore, you are resting. Not because you stopped caring, but because the promise has arrived. And it's only the beginning. Something deep within you begins to return. Not a new version of you. Not a stronger or smarter you. But the original you. The one who existed before the heartbreak, before the betrayal, before the disappointments that left you guarded. That version of you that used to smile without fear. The one who used to dream without limits. The version that believed love was possible and peace was natural. That innocent, radiant soul that didn't have to protect itself to feel safe. That part of you, the truest, purest, softest you, comes quietly back to the surface. Not in a flash. Not in a dramatic moment. But in stillness. In the way your shoulders lower. In the way your breath becomes deeper. In the way you stop rehearsing survival and finally begin living from a place of wholeness. Because that one thing wasn't just a reward. It was a restoration. It was heaven's way of saying, my child, I saw every time you dimmed your light to fit into rooms that couldn't hold your brightness. I saw every time you loved deeply and got silence in return. I saw you survive seasons that tried to break you, but instead they built you. And now that the blessing has arrived, you're not rushing to show it off. You're not looking around for applause. Instead, you're standing in the quiet of your own becoming, letting joy pour into the empty places that were once dry and deserted. You're no longer performing for worth. You're resting in your divine identity. You're not searching anymore. You've found yourself. Archangel Michael stands in awe of your transformation. Not because he didn't believe it would happen, but because of how beautifully you embraced it. You didn't let the world make you hard. You didn't let the silence steal your softness. You didn't let the delays define your destiny. And now, you're glowing, not just with the light of answered prayer, but with the light of self-recognition. You see yourself clearly. You honor your path without shame. You no longer curse the pain, you understand it. Because the pain prepared the space for this beauty to live. And the beauty is not just in what you received, but in who you became while waiting. You became tender. You became wise. You became discerning. You learned how to let go without bitterness. You learned how to wait without resentment. You learned how to love yourself even when the world forgot your name. And now, you're walking in that rare kind of peace that can't be bought, faked, or borrowed. The kind that only comes when God Himself wraps His arms around your soul and says, "Welcome home to you." So tonight, as the stars begin to whisper and the sky begins to open, let your heart settle. Let your soul exhale. You made it. The blessing didn't just land in your life, it landed in the right hands. And those hands are holy. They are yours. It starts subtly, like the first ripple before the tide turns. You begin to notice how situations that once drained you now resolve themselves without your effort. People who brought confusion suddenly exit your life without a sound. Delays that haunted you for years are now clearing like clouds after a sacred storm. And you don't even panic anymore. You smile. Because your spirit knows, this is what it feels like when alignment becomes your lifestyle. This is what it feels like when favor walks ahead of you. Archangel Michael smiles too. His wings are relaxed now, because the war around you has quieted. Not because it disappeared, but because heaven has shifted authority in your name. You are not chasing anymore. You are attracting. And not just things, you're attracting peace, clarity, truth, and effortless elevation. People around you can sense the change. Even those who can't name it feel it in their bones. They begin treating you differently. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because something about you commands respect now, not loudly, but divinely. Your presence has become a space of stillness. Your eyes now carry the kind of strength that only comes from surviving storms without bitterness. Doors begin to open, some you never knocked on. Messages come through. Opportunities whisper your name. Suddenly, what once felt impossible now feels natural. What once hurt now makes sense. What once delayed now feels like it was simply waiting for you to be ready. And you are ready. Not just to receive, but to steward. To carry the blessing without arrogance. To walk into favor without leaving humility behind. You're not explaining yourself anymore. You're not begging to be seen. You've become so deeply rooted in God's rhythm that applause no longer moves you, alignment does. You wake up differently now. Not with dread, but with calm expectation. You've stopped forcing things, and yet everything flows. Because this is what it looks like when heaven's calendar meets your earthly timeline. This is what it feels like when that one thing from God is no longer just a promise, but the pattern. And now your surroundings begin to reflect what's happening inside of you. Conversations become deeper. Your relationships start to purify. You spend time only where you feel peace, not pressure. You walk into rooms that once intimidated you and feel completely at home. Because something greater walks with you now. And it's not just Archangel Michael beside you, it's who you've become within you. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding from purpose. You don't chase healing anymore, you carry it. You don't ask for validation, your silence speaks louder than any defense ever could. This is the fruit of the night God chose to deliver, that one thing. A night that didn't just give you something, it redefined everything. And from here on out, your life won't be about proving anything to anyone. It will be about walking softly with power, loving deeply with boundaries, speaking slowly with wisdom, and above all, living with the kind of peace that reminds the world, this joy was not luck, it was promised. You always thought this was about the blessing, about finally getting that one thing your soul had longed for. But now, as you sit in the stillness of fulfillment, you begin to feel something deeper stirring, a quiet revelation, soft but powerful. This wasn't just about giving something to you. This was about awakening something within you. You were never just a receiver of miracles. You were always meant to become a mirror for them. Because the world doesn't just need people who have joy. It needs people who carry the memory of where they found it, and offer that path to others. What God gave you tonight was not just a gift, it was a torch. A sacred fire. And now your life is no longer about collecting answers. It's about becoming one. You are a vessel now. An answered prayer in human form. A living testimony of what happens when someone refuses to give up, even when their hands are empty, their eyes are tired, and their heart is cracked wide open. Your survival has become your sermon. Archangel Michael stands a little farther back now, not because he has left, but because his mission has changed. He is no longer guarding just a person, he is protecting a calling. Your light has been noticed in the realm of spirit. Heaven sees you as a bridge. A divine doorway through which love, peace, and restoration can enter this broken world. You are not just the blessed, you are now the blessing. And you begin to feel it in the way people look at you. They come to you not for advice, but for calm. For a kind of presence that reminds them of home. They don't know your full story, but they sense the weight of it. And without realizing, they're drawn to the residue of grace that drips off your spirit like morning dew. You are no longer trying to fix people, you are simply showing them what healing looks like by living whole. And yet, this calling won't overwhelm you. Because it's not a burden, it's a rhythm. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be loud. You don't even have to try. All you have to do is remain. Stay connected. Stay soft. Stay open. Let your joy be quiet and consistent. Let your peace be contagious. Let your walk be a gentle invitation to those who are still in darkness. That's all heaven asks of you now. The wealth, the joy, the relationships, the favor, it was all given so that you could have the capacity to give light. Not performance. Not perfection. Just presence. Just you. And tonight, as the stars watch from above and angels keep silent vigil around you, your spirit finally accepts the full picture. This blessing was never random. It was a divine activation. A turning point. A moment where everything in your life, every tear, every delay, every detour, finally makes sense. And in that sacred stillness, you say nothing. You simply whisper, "Thank you." And the heavens respond, not with noise, but with peace so deep it humbles your bones. Because this is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of your true assignment. Not to impress, but to illuminate.